Like life will find a way to deflate you, whether it's your ego, whether it's your muscles, whether it's your performance. It's like that. It's like this bubble. You know, how much do you lose when you break your body, when you get 3 surgeries on your knees? How much do you lose time? How much do you lose some of the potential of your body for your entire life, as opposed to deflating yourself at your own will and trying to figure out what's going on in the body?
I have like a little bit of the same mentality as Joe Rogan has, like the like little obsessive. Like when I started drinking green tea, I was like studying like it has growth hormone benefits and reduces inflammation and stuff. So I was drinking like 6 cups of green tea every day, and that's completely nuts. Like nobody should do it. What he has done over the last decades, he has basically destroyed his body over and over again. Like that's already like a really bad sign when it comes to like who should you follow.
So hello everyone, it's me and Samuli here. We are the co-founders of VAHVA Fitness. So in this podcast we wanted to talk about the very famous person nowadays called Joe Rogan. And Rogan is someone who, you know, I used to listen to him like many years ago. I think at first time I actually even heard about Joe Rogan was from Samuli, like, or the podcast. I just only knew the Fear Factor guy. So it was very surprising me that he's actually making this this interesting podcast during the time. You know, I was really enjoying them and gained a lot of knowledge, and I also took a lot of influence from him, because the thing is, like, he was really into experimenting with his health, with training. He had this podcast about, you know, the psychedelics, but also about supplements, about these nootropics, and it was very interesting to hear during those times. Like, this is maybe almost 10 years ago that I started to listen to him. And so during this time I was also myself heavily into trying different type of, you know, protein powders and these carnitines and taurines and what you name it, like these glutamines, all of this stuff. And, you know, I was in that world. But I, of course, you know, over the years I started to develop also my own views about training, about health. I became a professional in the field. And Joe Rogan, you know, at that point you start to like see a little bit different, like, what is this guy doing? I start to like wonder, like or see this person differently, his actions and the way his body was, because there started to be such an interesting thing, like for me, because I started to steer away from using all of these substances, and then I was watching, like, okay, this guy is using, you know, like everything, like all the possible, you know, the drugs and hormones and steroids and injections and caffeines and supplements and psychedelics and all of this stuff. Like, it started to become pretty crazy to me, and all these therapies of the floating tanks and, you know, surgeries and this is a guy who was like really promoting health. And I'm not saying that everything is bad in Joe Rogan or something, but this started to, like, I started to wonder about it, like, what is this about? And then I started to realize that this guy also has so many issues, like, in his body as well, like the different ailments and the pains and so on. And
yeah, like for the record, like, I think he has like both of his knees destroyed, like complete ACL tears or something like that, like really like heavy surgeries on both knees. Also lots of back surgeries, neck surgeries, and lots of other like stuff like that. And he's not like a professional athlete or anything. Like, he last competed like maybe 30 years ago. So, and if his body is externally in such a bad shape, like, that's not normal. So internally he must be also like having lots of different problems as well. So even just when you look at him as an example, like, he's not a good example to follow, because what he has done over the last decades, he has basically destroyed his body over and over again. So that's why, like, that's already like a really bad sign when it comes to like who should you follow. like if they after decades they just continue to get like worse and destroy their body further and further. So maybe this is like a little negative talk, but like Eero said, 10 years ago we used to listen to him a lot, and we still love Joe Rogan. I think he's like a really good guy, and so on. But when it comes to health and fitness, he's really not a good example. He's actually a really bad example. Of course, he promotes good stuff, but how he does it and how he follows the advice is really damaging, and it will lead to like really bad problems for people as well. Because a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, when we used to listen to him, like really the early podcast with Duncan Trussell and everyone else, like we used to live in the same paradigm as him. Like we saw him as an authority figure. Like he had like this knowledge, he had this information about health and fitness, and he was somebody to follow. But after like 10 years of being in the industry and really learning about ourselves, our bodies, and how to actually be healthy and strong, like it's just nowadays we just consider like Joe Rogan is like a really bad example to follow. Like, and his advice is not good. Like you shouldn't do what Joe Rogan does, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I was feeling like, what is difficult for me to understand is that because he has been so into this topic, like the fitness and the health and everything, and he's done like everything he's done, his research he has actually brought like so many different guests who have expertise also in this on these topics. Like Steve Maxwell has been there also, who we look up to a lot. Like there's been many different guests who actually give advice on training and everything, but I think it's maybe even the surrounding culture. It's very hard to like fight against that. It's not like okay, this the Joe Rogan is the some like purposefully spreading this kind of mean information, trying to get people like or give people like bad advice. But it's the culture where you kind of trust on it's a distrust on yourself, and it's a trust on these industries, on these medical industries especially. And I think especially in the US, in the Hollywood and all of this, this is not an exception. Like these guys use like stuff, like they pump themselves up with like everything. And Joe Rogan has even been very open about it, which I think is good. Like he has said like very openly he uses testosterone, he uses this growth hormones, he uses this I don't remember what is the other stuff, like some insulin like hormone as well, growth factor, I think, or something like that. But so he has stated he uses this, and then he uses who knows what is he using. So that's what I can't understand.
Because usually when people use like hormone replacement therapy, you can basically use every other steroid. Like it's not going to have really so bad negative side effects. So if you use like TRT, you have probably used like everything else as well. So of course we don't know everything he does, but we can only like speculate. But anyway, like for the record, we can say like me and Eero, we don't use anything. Like we don't use any steroids, we don't use any supplements, or we use maybe like vitamin C and zinc and very few supplements. Like we don't use almost nothing. Like and that's good to know.
I mean that's the thing. Like of course, like almost all of this stuff that I think he does and he uses, like all these therapies and everything. It's like it can be. The thing is, it can be really good. Like sometimes supplement or something. It's like that might be exactly what you need. But I think in his approach or what he is suggesting is like, for example, what I heard, like he was doing this interesting experiment with the carnivore diet, and then at the same time he's like taking this huge amount of vitamins in. Like, okay, if you are taking all of these hormones and even steroids and everything, and then you try to eat the most nutritious food to get the most amount in, and then you take a huge amount of supplements, and then you use the sauna to get more like this insulin-like growth factor in your body, and then you're adding it into your body externally like this. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, how can you put all of this stuff in the body, and where do you really need it? Like, is this something that you need, or is this something that, you know, is maybe something wrong under there? Like, I can't like judge a person, but he is still like spreading this type of information for many people around the world. And I think, especially in your case, you should maybe watch at least very carefully, you know, not to take this kind of information just like plainly, you know, because it might not be the case. Like, we are trying to be the examples where you don't need to put this stuff into your body, unless it's, you know, some occasion. Like I said, sometimes you need this therapy, sometimes you need maybe a drug you maybe perhaps need to take, but it shouldn't be something that sustains your life 24/7. That's what we're really trying to get away from. Like, you don't need any substance to sustain yourself 24/7 unless you have like some really like, I don't know, some rare genetic disorder or something. Probably then it's the case, but in like as a general advice, like to just to see your body even clearly. And I think that's one of the reasons why we even started to experience and see our bodies and be able to train the way we train, because we stopped using even coffee, even tea, even green tea or black tea. We stopped
like
using
caffeine.
Yeah, caffeine altogether, so that we could actually be more here and sense what is going on naturally in the body better. Because any drug that you take, I don't care like what you take, that you say that it even like makes you perceive your body better, it still blinds to some extent also your body. Every substance, even food, even food, normal food that you eat throughout the day has an effect on how you perceive your body. And of course, you know, you need to eat every day, but for example, there's like everything can mask symptoms, and everything can kind of
Yeah, if you want like the most accurate and complete and transparent like view of the body and how you're feeling, you have to eliminate everything. And what that means is that you are fasting. You are fasting from everything, maybe even from water. Then you feel the body in the purest and the natural state, because you don't even have food, and in many cases you don't even have water. So, and that's why I think many of these elimination diets and carnivore diets, where you really eliminate like almost everything and focus on just like a really tiny bit, why they are so helpful is because you are actually eliminating things from your life, and your body actually functions better. Like, it's the same if you like these people who maybe drink only raw, fresh orange juice or something. They feel really good for like a long time after they do it. And it's the same with carnivore diet. If you eat only beef and maybe eggs, your body is going to be like functioning really well. And it's because you're doing less, not more. And that's the thing with our approach nowadays. Like, we want to use less and less of everything, and then give the body only the best nutrients and the best things what we need. But for the most part, we are not like, we don't have this pot where we're stuffing like millions of different things. Like, the problem with the Joe Rogan's approach and what was our approach like many years ago was that we were stuffing things in our body like constantly from morning until night, and like different supplements, different food, green tea. Like, because I have like little bit of the same mentality as Joe Rogan has, like the like little obsessive. Like, when I started drinking green tea, I was like studying like it has growth hormone benefits and reduces inflammation and stuff. So I was drinking like 6 cups of green tea every day, and that's completely nuts. Like, nobody should do it. And the same with everything else. Like, the problem with this approach, the Joe Rogan's mindset, which we used to have as well, is that you just go like in the past we talk about that things are only good in their right doses and when everything is in harmony. And for example, when I see like Joe Rogan post some sauna things on Instagram, he's like, yeah, I'm doing sauna every day for 20 minutes to get my like health up and get my like the growth hormone levels up and whatever are the benefits. Like, that's not even good thing. Like, sauna is a really good thing, but you probably shouldn't be spending like every day 20 minutes doing it. Like you need to get like rest from that as well. And it's the same with everything else. You need rest from everything, and you shouldn't be doing everything every day all the time. And the solution to most problems and the most performance, like I feel the best I've ever felt, look the best I've ever looked, and perform the best I've ever performed, because I use less of anything today than I used to use in my early 20s, for example. And that's it.
Yeah, I have to agree with this. I mean, of course, because we are kind of following this approach of like really sometimes less is more. It's like even a saying, you know, it's it's just that you realize that a lot of this stuff, and okay, this comes to a really big issue that is also behind this, is because a lot of the stuff that you're putting into yourself, it's like it's the what do you call a recipe, or it's a cure for the things that you're causing with your lifestyle. So, for example, you're taking these drugs and things to help with things that you have caused with other drugs, things that you have caused with bad eating. So you're trying to like counter, like fight against those things that you've caused with your lifestyle. So if your lifestyle is actually gets towards a better direction, so then especially you notice that you need less and less stuff to kind of try to counter the negative effects. So for example, if you are like using some nootropics and caffeine, and I'm sure there's many kind of drugs that kind of influence the brain and get you more like energized and fired up. Well, then what do you do to like calm yourself down? Then perhaps you use, for example, marijuana or something, or some sedatives, or I don't know, anything that you can relax your body. But it's like you're utilizing this stuff to always counter the negative effects of other things. And we were talking about like this, the training and the surgeries and the pains also. It's the exact same as we talk about the approach to like heavy lifting and ego training. So these guys, like they break their bodies with the main approach to training. They're always trying to lift the heaviest weight, and then they have to do like they try to find some treatment for that thing, and they try to find the treatment for their bad training, but they never stop their bad training. And there's another saying, some philosopher like if someone wants to heal, you need to ask a question like, are they ready to let go of the things that made them sick in the first place? And that's always where it comes down to, look, because you are causing these troubles. If you're like chronically getting these issues, reoccurring issues, bulging disc, some back pain or neck pain or something, then there's something fundamentally wrong that isn't curable with just treatment or with stem cells or something like that. Of course, it will help, but it will always reoccur because you never changed fundamentally what the things that caused these issues in the first place. And I think this is the dangerous way that I'm getting from his approach. Like, despite he's listening to some very good advice, he has some people who give like training advice and exercises and everything, but it never goes to the level where it would actually perhaps change like the bigger mindset and the way he approaches fitness and training in general. And yeah, I think
that's the thing, like, because I have known some people who take steroids, like maybe they take some Trembolone and it's like their adrenalines are like really high, like they go like going crazy. So because I used to know this one guy in Vietnam, and he said that he has to take like amphetamines so he can focus, like he can work, because he's all the time like too jittery. And the same likewise if people like this take strong stuff like this, or if they take like, let's say, lots of caffeine and steroids, like how these people are going to sleep, because their body, like their cortisol levels are so high, their adrenaline levels are so high, and their energy levels are so high, so how they're going to sleep? So the solution, they take like medicine, like sedatives to calm themselves down, or they smoke weed. So, and when you are in this paradigm where you're like constantly like hurting yourself with these things, like maybe you take these hormones maybe you drink too much caffeine, like you're starting to get like maybe problems in your stomach or liver. Then after a while, maybe after 10 years, you have to take some other stuff to combat these problems you originally caused by these things that were supposed to help you and raise your performance. So that's the thing.
Yeah, it's not always all these things don't reoccur like immediately. You know, if you abuse something, it might come out like many years later. But from what I understood, like for example, Rogan has, used like decades, like some of these substances. Like that's like he's very deep into that world. That's why I think so one thing is he's very deep into it. He's been doing it, as a lifestyle, or that's his lifestyle that he's been doing for a very long time. And then he has people surrounding him who also like reinforce that. And I think it's sometimes for people who are in a position of authority, especially like high up like that, they don't even realize that the surroundings will kind of yield to them. They don't even understand that people who are surrounding them will kind of almost be like the same, have the same opinion, and you will also, of course, like bring people who have the same opinion in your life. Like that's quite natural process, but they don't necessarily get like ever properly questioned. Even though it's craziest thing that he is kind of, or if you watch him, he is questioning so many things. He is like trying to ponder so many things, but sometimes we are like the most blind to ourselves, and it's very hard to.
Yeah, there's like a saying like we question all of our beliefs, but not the beliefs that we truly believe in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what happens. And I mean, I'm not immune to it, no one is, but at this level, it's just because I'm trying to like think what is really behind also the thing. Like, why hasn't he? I mean, he's doing his meditations and yoga and floating tanks and the psychedelics and everything, but that just shows that the answer is not there, or what.
Actually, like fundamentally, he and this paradigm has no respect for the body. It has no respect for the nature, because, like, even if you look at his like training, like I feel so crap, I feel so bad, like my body is a mess, but I still went 10 rounds of really hard. And so on. And sometimes this mentality is good because you cannot be like, I don't feel so good, so now I'm going to just sleep all day. So of course you need consistency in your life. But this Joe Rogan mentality, which is also the Louis Simmons mentality, who just passed away, who was also like completely destroyed from like head to toe, like every joint in his body almost. But this mentality that you don't really respect the body at all, like you just decide something and then you do what needs to be done. But what happens is that you are just gonna destroy yourself further and further, because sometimes you have to listen to the body and you have to be in a really good partnership with your body, and you have to be in a really good like communication with your body and connection with your body. And the problem with this is that when you're using lots of drugs, when you use lots of substances, you feel like something, like maybe some sensory like reception and so on, like you smell things very well and so on, but you are actually like Eero said, you are masking the body, and you are masking what is it called, like what the body is trying to tell
symptoms
you.
Or
no symptoms, but you're masking like everything from your body. Like you are not in tune with the body when you use lots of stuff. You are only in tune with your body when you have removed everything from your body. Then you are in tune. But when you use lots of substances, you don't even, like I remember Mike Tyson when he used to compete, like he was like an absolute killer. But when he retired, he said that he didn't even know how much in pain his body was. Like he didn't even understand, because when he was training, he was all the time like pushing, like training hard and of course using lots of stuff. So when he stopped using all the stuff and he stopped training, he only after that he realized like, oh, my body is like completely destroyed. And that's not that's not the right path to take. Like what we have discovered is the right path, and the best path is that when you're in tune with your body, when you work with the body, when you respect the body, then you can move forward and do it very well and very fast, but without hurting yourself in the process. Because fundamentally, the Joe Rogan approach is fundamentally like hurting yourself. Like it lacks like self-love, it lacks self-respect, it lacks respect for the body. It's just really damaging for yourself.
I think like because you need to force yourself, especially in the beginning. If you don't train at all, you know that you're avoiding training, so you develop this way of like pushing yourself, so that like Joe Rogan says, like what is this, like you conquer your inner bitch or something like this way. And I get this
Jocko Willing.
Yeah, it's from Jocko Willing, but
no, I don't know if it's from Jocko Willing.
They have actually quite similar. Like they both like this tough guy, like this major alpha, like tough approach to training, and I get that. Like we have that as a part as well, but it's not something that you need to have for forever. And or what I mean that you don't need to have that always for every single training and for everything, because once you start to know your body and you've already gone through this training journey, it's not, you know that you can give some rest for your body. You've done the work. You can trust on the work. Like you don't need to do blindly like this extreme hard training because you think that you're not worth it, because you think that you're unsure whether you've done enough work to make stimulus in your body. There's the good saying as well, like stimulate, don't annihilate. I think that was like who's the bodybuilder? Dorian Yates probably said that. But the approach, like with Louis Simmons, like rest in peace. But like Samuli said, that this lack of respect, because you are like these people, they try to decide everything on the body themselves. I watched, this was really amazing. I just watched because I was so into this whole thing, and Joe Rogan was, for example, talking to Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz had like major, like multiple injuries in his knee, like just horrible. He had to take a long break from the MMA and martial arts, and he like got very depressed during the time because he had kind of like suffocated all of his emotions and everything with the training. He had trained so hard and completely disregarded how he really felt in himself. And when he had to stop training, he had to like face himself and see like that he hates himself if he's not doing the martial arts. And that's the thing, like sometimes when you face an injury or something, the Dominic Cruz realized his worth through that. But what people, when they face this kind of traumas and catastrophes in their life, that should be like that sort of wake-up call where you like realize actually what you are doing to your body, and you can see the value in yourself, even if you cannot do the thing that you wanted to do, that you're trying to force to do. For some people, it might be the MMA competing there. For some people, it's the lifting, the deadlifts and the squats, like super heavy. For some people, it's maybe doing some calisthenic skills. But you realize that these things, your self-worth shouldn't be tied into that. It's a very damaging approach. And it's like a religion with these people. It's like a religion of sacrificing yourself for the goal of making this this lift or something. And in that circles, if you get hurt, it's not a surprise. You can expect that. You should expect that. And of course, you can only blame yourself in that sense, because you're doing everything you can to break the body in that approach, because you're not respecting the body. You want to just serve the goal of whatever your ego says. But I also experienced this because I also got hurt with my training in the beginning. I got hurt, and I had to make that sort of acceptance that I'm going to still keep training, even if I can't do this stuff that my ego would really like to do for me to appear bigger and stronger and better in front of other people. I still need to keep on going with my training, and I need to accept that actually I'm not only good, but I'm better if I don't obsess with that. That's the reason why that I accepted that, and kind of was able to get away, distance myself from the ego. That was the reason why I was able to come up with all the training that we're doing nowadays. Same with Samuli, like we developed these methods together, and that's really the thing where you kind of accept those things. It doesn't mean that you completely give up on your goals or something, but you need to still understand your value. Like outside of those things, because otherwise it will lead to like destruction. And
yeah, it's like these people are completely inside their mind, and it's like completely in their ego, and like you said, they're destroying, like they're sacrificing themselves for some false idea in their head, which doesn't even, like, it only exists in their head. So it's like in the past, I also broke my body in so many ways, like elbows and sternum and shoulder and stuff like that. But what it's like, if you look at professional athletes, and if you look at like really like veteran powerlifters and anything, like even gymnasts or anything, like most of them are completely destroyed, or maybe not completely, but they have lots of really bad problems because they never like discovered, how to move in harmony with yourself. Instead, they always, push, because it was some maybe insecurity or ego or something like that pushed them forward and made them to sacrifice their body in the process. So, like, if you look at Eero or us, like, we do MMA, and what is MMA? It's like super versatile striking, kicking, punching, wrestling, grappling, like lots of stuff. And Eero also does these huge stunts and like flips and animal movements and everything else. And we don't have any problems in our body, not anymore. Like, I never feel like joint pain in my knees, in my elbows or anything. And I train really hard. I train like better than ever before. And the same with Eero. Like, it's very rare to have this state where you can actually perform better and better and better every year, but you don't have any of the problems everyone else have, which they will suffer from and get, like, feel negative consequences for the next decade, maybe rest of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't have a perfect body. I always know that there's things that I want to improve upon and such, and there's always going to be, if you like train super hard, you're going to get some things, some months here and there. But the problem is that, how do you react to that? And if your training is good, those problems will not come very bad. They will never be super bad. And the second thing, if they arise, you will have the kind of the tools to actually to deal with them. Not this, you don't have to rely on this therapy or the injections or the surgery. You can actually, like, always find ways. And one of the things, like I said, I'm constantly in, like, because of this being in tune with the body, I know very well where I have some limits and where I'm very good. And this is also something that is very important, because then it means that you can actually address the things. You can take your body forward. It means that you can find these things. You don't have to be like constantly guessing, like, what could be this exercise maybe, or what maybe, I try to Google out this one fix exercise that we already talked about in another podcast. But in our approach, we teach more than just the exercise, more than just repeat this, do exactly as I say, because our bodies are individual. Your problems or the issues or your weaknesses are something that are sometimes very personal. And by just training and learning your body through the training, you start to be able to analyze your body much better. You start to be able to also fix these things. But another thing that I'd really like to say is that the life will, like, find a way to put you down. Like, life will find a way to deflate you, whether it's your ego, whether it's your muscles, whether it's your performance. It will always find that way. Like, when you are pushing, like, super hard and just going and disregarding your body, at some point it will like, it's like that. It's like this bubble. So it's much better when you do this deflation at your own will, with your own control. And this means, it could mean fasting, for example, where, you're literally, like, shrinking, you're fasting to heal yourself, to getting rid of everything. But it may also mean just toning down in your training, getting away from that ego type of training and focusing on your body, where you feel like you're losing something. But, how much do you lose when you break your body, when you get 3 surgeries on your knees? How much do you lose time? How much do you lose some of the potential of your body for your entire life, as opposed to deflating yourself at your own will and trying to figure out what's going on in the body, trying to fix your body by yourself before it escalates to the point where it's not your will, it's the life that crushes you with the injuries and deflates you with the sickness or something. So partly it's about getting rid of the ego so you can also humble yourself, and by humbling yourself you may be seeing certain things in your body that you need to fix. And once you do that by yourself, the deflation is much shorter, and it actually builds you forward and increases your also your potential in the future. So that's just like a final maybe thought.
Yeah, it's a law of nature that before things can go up, they have to go down, and before things can expand, they have to shrink. And what people are doing with their approach is that they are trying to expand until you know it's the bubble and it explodes. But if you expand, shrink, then you can progress forever and without ever imploding, like a lot of people do, without destroying yourself at some point, in one way or another.
Yeah, and the idea for at least me is not that Joe Rogan has zero good advice. I know he has inspired many people. He has honestly inspired tons of people to lose weight and to go towards it.
And it's better than a lot of lifestyles people live. It's 10 times better than the standard American lifestyle where you don't move and you eat McDonald's and Shake Shack and Five Guys every day.
Yeah, exactly. And there's and I really think he has great guests. He has also guests that are spreading very good information about training. Sometimes that's clear, but I still think there's this dominating. I don't know. Is it dominating framework or approach, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's a mentality.
Yeah, mentality maybe. Perhaps approach, mentality that still shines through there, and if it's not hurting, some people who listen, it is clearly hurting himself because of the record of injuries and ailments that he's had. So it's just. And
the problem with this approach is also that you will never have real confidence in yourself, and you always have this doubt in your head that you just don't know because you're trying to solve this mystery of your body and the mystery of performance and mystery of health with intellectually with all these million different things, but you don't people no one is just not smart enough. When you do one thing, when you solve one problem, it always creates 5 different problems. And when you try to solve your body with 100 different things, different hormones and sauna and caffeine, you're just creating more doubt in your body because you're stuffing more stuff in your body and you don't really understand what's happening because nobody understands what's happening. Even the brain, even the body, everything, even life, it's just too complex to understand completely intellectually with your ego or with your mind.
It actually reminds me of the alchemy, and because I remember, I can't give a source, but I remember reading of these original alchemists who were this is really related to also Qigong, where they were trying to look for the long life pill. Even Jiang Yushan talked about this long life pill that they were trying to search, and it was through mixing these metals, literally the alchemy was mixing these substances and metals and everything, and then they drink it. and in the beginning what happened, this is an extreme example of what is kind of happening nowadays. They died. They literally make a poison where the thing will give an eternal life. You drink some mercury or something, I don't know what, and they just you literally die into your long life pill. But I feel on some level maybe there's a similarity with this approach where you're trying to always the newest kind of gimmick, the newest drug, the newest substance, the newest steroid, the newest whatever comes up. You always become hyped, and you're like, well, this is the thing, like this is the thing. It doesn't bring to death like the the original alchemy. It's not like you just die, but
it brings death in very small like level, maybe, like it hurts.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like it takes something away. Like that's always the promise. I think it's very again, I'm forgetting words, but like there's this like a archetype level or something like this way where where you're searching something, you're trying to gain control and power over something, very forcibly. Like it's like this, like you said, you can't control everything. You don't have the brain for that. Like some people you have the trust for the higher power and God and whatever, but some people you just like, I decide this, I do that, and I know, and you try to gain control over your life like you're the God of your life, and so you get these substances and everything, and you're always gaining this control over yourself, like you can like live forever with these things, but it always usually turns out a little bit, there's something crooked in the end there, something rotten in the bottom of it. So.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good moment to stop this podcast.
Yeah, I agree. That was it. So thanks for listening. I think it was because we have been really for some time like following Rogan, and it was a subject that is kind of there. You need to bring it out. So thanks for listening, everyone, and see you next time. Stay strong.